Hi there, fellow developers. Welcome back to our coding adventure. Today, we've got something special in store for you. Get ready to master the art of setting up a seamless database connection with Node.js, TypeScript, and TypeORM. So let's dive into setting up like our project. So what you'll need to do is actually install like TypeORM like globally, but I already have that like installed, so all I'll just need to do is say type orm init database Postgres database that I'm going to be using, and then I'll be also using Express. And as I press like enter, I'll wait for this to initialize like my project and also install my dependencies. Please guys, if you're new to the channel, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. All right. So whilst we wait for it, let's just go through like the project, right? So over here, when we, as it's still installing our dependencies, so over here you'll see that this type ORM will create like our controllers, entities, and our actual migrations, right? So then over here we have our data source, right, which is where we're actually going to be establishing like our actual connection. And then we'll just need to connect this to our like our database that's running on like on Postgres, to our Postgres database. So what I'll do is I'll also like just over here add like a Docker Compose file where I'm gonna be running my Postgres database, right? So I'll just create this Docker Compose .yaml file, right? So I won't dwell deep into Docker, so I'll just copy and paste this Docker Compose file. So over here, this says version 3, the service. This is our Postgres, and this is getting an image from like a Postgres from Alpine. Container name is this, and then this is where we have like our Postgres user, password, and actual database, right? So over here, this is running on port 5430, right? And then this command over here, because Postgres runs by default on port 5432, right? So this command just specifies that just please expose this, right? So this exposes this container on port 5430, and then this just says okay, points to this, right? Okay, we're still waiting for this to actually install all our dependencies. That might take a bit of some time, but maybe in the meanwhile, whilst that is still running, let's just open another terminal over here, and we'll open a shell terminal. And in order for us to get our Postgres database or our container up, we'll need to run like a Docker compose up dash d, and then this over here will actually get our database running from the, oh sorry, I didn't save this file. Alrighty, let's go. So yeah, now this is gonna start up our Docker container and actually run it on the like our background, right? And then all we need to do is, in order for us to check this out, we can just run a Docker ps-a, and then over here we can see that our Docker container is running here and it's opening all, yeah, to all of those ports. Okay, so now we can just, okay, nope, we can just clear. Okay, over here now we can just go to our pg admin, we can just register server, and then we'll call this pix user, right? And then this is running on like our host, local host. Our port is port that. Then our actual database is gonna be this, right? So paste this here, and then we'll need a copy also like our actual user, right? This is our actual user and our actual database password. Okay, but obviously you'd wanna maybe store those in like your environments folder so that it's actually secure. Okay, but it doesn't really matter. So we've actually connected to the server and we can see we've got this database over here. If we just take a look at this, this database doesn't have any table for now. And then what we can do is just try to, let's just save this. Let's see. Oh, it's actually done like installing like our dependencies. Now we can just go ahead and run npm run start. So this should be able to start up like our actual server, but we will obviously like expecting like an error over here. And yeah, this error says that the password authentication failed for user. That's because over here in our database, in our actual configuration here, we're saying the username is test, but in actual facts, it's this pix user. So we'll use this pix user right over here, and then we'll just copy over our password and our database. So this is our DB, and this should actually run, right? So if we run like our npm run start, this should actually like generate our like run our actual like database like migrations and actually updates like our database. Okay, so let's actually see what the issue is, right? So over here it's saying pix user. Okay, okay, that. Oh, sorry, my bad. The port number. So we're running on a wrong port over here. So let's run again. npm run start. Yeah. So it should be just as easy as this to actually get our database connection with TypeORM and Node. Okay, so over here we can see that it's actually started our server on port 3000, and here we've got this endpoint. I've just stopped the server. Let me just copy this, and we can actually try testing this out on Postman. All right, so what we want to do is actually just create our Postman collection. So in our Postman collection, we'll call this our Pix reaction, right? Because this application or backend that we're building over here is Pix reaction, right? So it's called Pix reaction. We'll actually add like an endpoint over here that we want to test, which is actually going to be pointing to this. And then as we send, this should actually give us something. Yeah. So hence you can see over here, we can see that this is actually getting our actual data in our database. And if we come over here and refresh our actual tables, we'll see that now we've got a user table. And if we try to actually run select all, right, query, this select all query should actually show us like the users that are in our database, right? So the reason why we actually have users, so what basically happens over here is just to explain a bit, but we're actually done with actually setting up like our database connection with TypeORM. But just to explain over here, so what happens here in our when we actually run, so when we actually run this npm run start, this says ts node starts up this index.ts file, and then what happens over here, we have this app data source, and then this initializes like our database connection and stuff, and we're running this from express, and then this sets up like our routes and stuff. And then over here you can see that we actually setting up what we want to store in our actual DB. So if I were to stop the server and rerun it again, we'll add other users. So we'll have another Timber, and then last name, so who's 27 years old, and this user. So if I were to actually come over here and run a delete from user table, which will clear out all our user records over here. So if we actually just try to run this again, and then if we just Okay, if we try to just run an npm run start, this over here should actually add our users and actually, yeah, save our users in our actual database table. Okay, yeah, this has started up. So if we go back over here to our Postman and actually try to test this endpoint again, we'll see that we've got two users that have just been added to our database, right? So we can also add like another request over here, because what actually happened is with the setup that we have, so TypeORM just set up like a CRUD for us. So I'll just test up one other endpoint, and then yeah, that should be all for this video. Okay, so what we'll do over here is we'll go to our routes. We see here in our routes that we've got this maybe post to our user route. And then if we check over here, this is calling the save method. And all we need in our body is our first name and our last name and an age, right? So let's go ahead and do that in our Postman. Okay, so what we'll need is we'll just copy this URL, right? And this is a post request. This is coming in as a JSON. Okay, over here we'll have our first name, right? So our first name is gonna be, okay, so my name is Sibonelo. Last, so we've got our last name right over here. We'll just say my last name is that, and now my age, we'll just say I'm 12 years old. Okay, so if we try to test out this endpoint, you'll see over here that we've actually added this user. So if we come over here and actually test out this get all user, we'll see that we've actually added another user. Because this video is actually so short, let me just add another endpoint for actually getting like our one user, right? So I believe over here this should be that, and then maybe 5. Let's try that. Yeah, so this is actually passing like our actual ID over here. So if we pass user 6, that should get user 6 for us. Yeah, so that is working. So we can just come here and actually name our endpoints, right? So in our Postman collection, we'll say this is a get all users endpoint. This is create users endpoint, right? So this is our create user, and this is gonna be our get user by ID endpoint, right? So I won't demonstrate like delete. Maybe you can do that as a bonus, just to figure out how to play around with Postman. But yeah, that's all you need to set up a database connection. And once again, if you're new to the channel, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Now, peace.